Hoo-wee. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Vice President, members of the faculty, the Senate, Dr. Rice, family, friends, and my fellow graduates. This is huge for me to be honored by Canada's largest university in the city where I spent most of my life. It's huge. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough for this deep, deep honor that you're bestowing upon me. And I also need to thank a long line of people stretching back more than 4 decades who pointed to doors of opportunity and said to me, hey, why don't you try that? And gave me a little pat on the back and said, you can do that. And thanks to that encouragement, that inspiration, I stepped through those doors of opportunity. I said yes, and it changed my life again and again and again. I never, ever thought that I would be standing on this stage wearing this robe. Never thought that. Because when I was a student, I failed second-year university. Not this university, by the way. It was another university. But I wasn't a good student. I failed, and I dropped out, and I worked construction and drove a truck because I thought that that was my lot in life. That's the stock that I come from. But thanks to these people who said, hey, you can do more than that. And by the way, I admire the construction industry. It's hard. But I wanted to do something more creative. I wanted to expand my life in different ways. And thanks to these people that said things to me like, hey, do you know the Ontario Science Centre is looking for people to do the shows, to do the public shows? And you love science. I always have. I just wasn't good at it. Good at doing it, but I like science. And they said, that combines your two loves, science and theater, because I did a little bit of theater when I was in school. And I know the person who's hiring. I'll introduce you. I drove my truck to the Science Center wearing a blue shirt. And I met this person who fortunately had just come back from vacation and hadn't had a chance to read any of the applications because mine didn't have anything on it anyway. And I told him why I wanted to work there. I said, this is a great place. It's really wonderful what you're doing, and I'd love to work here. And he hired me on the spot, purely on enthusiasm, because I wanted it. And that changed my whole life. And then out of that came more opportunities. Hey, can you appear on the news tonight and talk about a robot that landed on Mars? Oh, okay. I'd never done that. Hey, you're good on camera. Do you want to come back and be a regular science contributor on our program? Okay. Hey, we're doing a television series. Would you like to be the host? Okay. It just kept happening again and again. And every time somebody would point to me and say, hey, why don't you try this? I said yes. And it just kept happening. Quirks and Quarks is looking for a host. Give them a call. Okay. And it's still happening now. And I discovered something. One, when people do that to you, and I'm no one special. We all have that happen. A friend or a colleague or a family member or someone will say, hey, why don't you try that? You'd be good at that. It happens to all of us. And I learned that if you just say yes, even though you're not qualified to do it, and I was never qualified to do anything that I said yes to, but I said yes anyway. And when that happens, not only will it change your life into a direction that you never thought you would go, but it scares the pants off you. You get scared. And it's healthy to be scared when you take on something new. We're programmed for that. It's called the fight or flight response. And it's how we got here through evolution to escape predators. But there's 2 choices there, fight or flight. And the tendency is to fly away, run away from it, say, no, I can't do that. I'm not qualified. And you come up with all these dumb excuses, dumb reasons to say no. But when you say yes and you get scared, just do it. Just finish it. Finish what you started. Get it done. And when you do that, it may not be the best you've ever done. It may not be the best in the world. It's probably not. But it will get better. But you just get it done. Just get it done. Of course, I don't need to tell you that. You know it. You're here. You faced the challenge of an education. And I know you got scared when you were given some of your assignments, some of your essays, some of your experiments, and you procrastinated, and you worked right up to the last minute, but you got it done. You got it done, and here you are. Give yourselves a hand. Hey, you got it done. Yay! All right. Yes. You got it done. Now do it again. And do it again. And do it again. And do it again. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And by the way, thank you for investing in scientific thinking. Thank you for investing in your minds and the scientific way of looking at the world, because we need that. We're in a world now where reason is being pushed aside by other ways of thinking, where opinions can count more than reason, where politics can count more than reason, where money can count more than reason, where extremism can push reason aside. Science is reasonable thought. Science is one of the last institutions we have that looks for the truth. And it does it in a really nice, systematic way. Look for evidence, gather the evidence, do the experiment, and prove it to yourself. And we need that kind of thinking. Reasonable, gather the evidence thinking. Because if we let ourselves go down some of those other ways of thinking, it's very dangerous. And we've got some serious decisions to make in the future about where our energy is going to come from, where our food's going to come from, where our water's going to come from, our own numbers, and how we get along with all the other species on the planet without eating and burning everything in sight. And some of those decisions involve science. We got to understand climate change. We got to understand genetics and population control. We got to understand dynamics. And that's where your scientific thinking comes in. Whether you become scientists or not, that reasoned thinking is something that we need. But down the line, after you have said yes to people who pointed to opportunities, and by the way, make sure that when that happens, when you say yes to an opportunity, you are facing your dreams, that you're facing the things that really excite you. Not your parents' dreams, not your teacher's dreams, not your friends' dreams, your dreams. The things that you really get excited about. When you see an opportunity, take a step towards that. And you'll be amazed where you end up. Big secret in life, get paid for having fun. Really changes your life. And when you end up somewhere that you never expected, later on in your life, look around and look back at the people that brought you there. All those people who pointed to those doors, and face them and say thank you. Thank you for the inspiration and for the guidance that got me here. And if you see someone that you know who is facing their dreams, but they're afraid to take a little step, and you see a door of opportunity for them, point them towards it and say, hey, why don't you try that? And give them a little pat on the back of encouragement. It'll go a long, long way. I wish you all well. And thank you again for this deep, deep honor. Thank you so much.